Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I had a brownie for breakfast. That makes everything wonderful.
Delicious. I haven't eaten breakfast yet.
And you know what I did? I cut it right out of the middle of the pan, and I'm gonna blame my kids.
I love it.
All right, so I'm excited to get started.
Me too. Me too.
So I think we're gonna start with just a little bit about how Jen and I got into wedding planning. We've been doing it for a long time now.
Yes, too long.
Too long.
Well, how long have you been? With 16 years?
No, not quite that long. Next season, we'll start my 14th season.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Are you sure?
Yes, 2011. It's on my business records.
Well, then that's so interesting to me. Okay. I felt like it was longer.
Well, maybe as we're telling our story of how we got started, we'll figure
Oh,
it
yeah.
out.
Yes, I'm jumping the gun.
No, I really think it's 2011.
Yeah, tell us the whole story. Start from the beginning and don't end until you get to today.
Oh gosh, today when I ate the brownie. Okay, so I went to school at Marquette. I got a degree in business. Not sure what I was going to do with that, but I graduated and then I actually moved to Florida for a little bit while my husband went to law school. We moved back to Milwaukee and I got a very good job in the legal world. I wasn't a lawyer, I was a paralegal, but it was a good job. Eventually, I decided, well, let me take that back. I knew that that was not my career,
Hmm.
but I wanted to do something while he was getting his career up and going. And we decided that we were going to have kids and I wanted to be more available for them and not have to go to work every day. So, using my wonderful Marquette education, I decided, what can I do to start my own business? And it's crazy to think back because in 2010, when I was first brainstorming, there was no Pinterest, there was no say yes to the dress. Weddings were very different.
Okay, but I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you know you wanted to own a business before you knew you wanted to be a wedding planner, or did wanting to become a wedding planner make you want to be an entrepreneur?
You know what made me want to become an entrepreneur? Not wanting to have to go to a job every day.
Totally. But I'm curious because I always thought that you got married and you couldn't find a wedding planner. This is the story I thought I knew.
Not at all. That's totally
Is
incorrect.
that a fake story?
That's fake news. Fake news.
Okay, so now I feel like going into this, I'm like, oh, I know the story she's going to tell. Now I'm realizing I have zero idea how you became a wedding planner.
Yeah, no, I got married in 2008. I didn't use a wedding planner. I just planned a wedding, but weddings were so different. We got married downtown at a venue where essentially you just went in, you chose a package. You didn't think outside the box at all of any sort of personalization to anything. I picked my photographer, I picked flowers with no real understanding of what all that meant. It was fine. My wedding was fine, but it did not inspire me to be a wedding planner.
Did the knot exist in 2008?
I don't remember. It had to have, right?
Wow, you got married a long time ago.
I was a baby. I was like 26.
Totally. Okay. So, all right. So you got married. You're still a paralegal.
Yes.
And
And I decided that I wanted to do something that was my own. I really wanted something that was my own, right? And I was brainstorming. I was brainstorming what I could do. And it essentially, I thought that the Milwaukee market needed some fresh blood in the wedding planning market. There were some vendors in town, not many, but there wasn't a good variety. There was nobody younger, it seemed like, and maybe that was just me being naive. But I thought that I could do it better. And I think that that's the attitude you have to have when you're starting a business, right? Like that's why anybody starts a business. They think, well, I can do this better. And so I spent some time building my business while I still had my paralegal job. So I took a class. I spent time writing letters to vendors all over town, just introducing myself, asking if I could come see their space. I never thought that I just knew what I was doing.
Did you just say writing letters?
Yes.
Oh, you wrote legit letters and
With
mailed
a
them?
stamp. Because Jen, that is what is professional. You send a letter in the mail in 2010 or whatever. Yes.
Oh my
So
God.
it had like my business card. And I went like during my lunch hour to like meet with people and introduce myself. This was legitimate feet on the ground all over town. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I was giving it my best.
For our younger listeners, a letter is a piece of paper that you type on and put in an envelope. Oh my gosh. You probably have to Google it. I don't even know if I'm doing it justice explaining what mailing a letter is. Okay, got it.
So I met people and, I built my website and I registered my business and I just thought to myself, oh, and I did like a styled shoot of sorts. I had my cousin who was a photographer come and I ordered crap from Etsy. I don't even know. I did it downtown in a park. I bet people walked by and thought I was crazy, but I needed pictures, right?
We need to see these pictures. I bet it's the ugliest.
So fucking ugly. So I ordered these like butterfly things and it had a cake and put these like plastic butterfly things. But I got business because I have a charming personality.
You do. You do.
No, so then I started getting inquiries and I'm pretty good at talking to people and selling myself. I also was confident enough because I felt like I put in the time. I didn't just think, oh, I got married and so I know how to do this. Like I said, I took a class. I tried, right? I tried. There's no certification to be a wedding planner, but I did my best. And once you start booking business, it kind of rolls from there.
Yep.
So I got into it and I started out my first year of weddings. I think I had 6.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
it was great. And it just went from there. I built up. I eventually, very quickly after I started, brought you along for the ride.
It was foreshadowing for when I tell my story.
Yeah. So maybe I lied to you and said, Jen, I have this very successful business that's been in business for a long time. You should come work for me.
Yeah, I think that you did. That's why I'm like, I'm just like learning the real story. So again, like our listeners, I'm in the same boat you are. I'm learning for the first time how Megan got started.
So now everything's clicking into place. You're like, well, that's why I didn't get taught very well because she didn't know what the hell she was doing.
She didn't know shit either. Yeah, you were very confident. You definitely, I fell for it. So.
Yeah. So I brought you along for a while. I looked back one day for a while. I had 4 people working for me, which for me was a lot. We had multiple weddings going on at the same time. I'll let you tell your own story, but you stayed with me for a bit and you moved to Chicago and were even taking weddings down there for a little bit for me. We both realized mutually that that wasn't going to work. And so then we parted ways. But what I realized through having multiple people working for me is that I'm too much of a control freak for that setup. So I pulled back and now I have myself and I have another planner who can do her own weddings. We obviously have assistants and things that come along with us on the day of the wedding, but the max that my company will do on any given weekend in Milwaukee is 2 weddings. And that works out well for me because I would rather have a bit more focus on my clients. We try to really personalize things to them and communication is so important. And so I'm happy with how my business has evolved. I'm happy that I had that experience of having multiple planners out in Milwaukee at the same time. It was eye-opening and it helped grow the business. I'm happy where I'm at now, but I also have gotten to a point where I needed a little bit something new and exciting. And so 2 years ago, I decided that I wanted to also venture into the travel agent market. And I decided that I wanted to do that by opening my own travel agency, which I had to take another class for. I had to take a proctored exam.
Wow.
Do you know what that means?
Yeah, that's like they're watching you take it.
They are watching me. So I had to order textbooks. I studied. And then I had to set up this exam where I was on my computer and this dude was watching me through the computer the whole time. I had to show him my room in case I had like cheat sheets and everything. I'm like, I am a 42-year-old woman. I am not going to cheat on this exam. But, I guess.
I guess. Wow.
Yeah, I passed.
I passed. Yay.
I passed. Surprise. I passed.
Congrats.
Yeah, so I do have my travel agent license. I have an IATA number, which means that I can book travel for people. But since weddings are still my main focus, my travel agency is really just limited to all-inclusives, Caribbean, sandals and beaches resorts, which you guys will hear some about too, but it's a more limited venture at this point. It works out well with the weddings because I do honeymoons then. I have a destination wedding coming up in Jamaica in December, which is fun. It's just something different. Get to travel a little bit more, which I love.
Totally.
And I think you need to switch things up every once in a while to keep your life interesting.
I agree. Well, thank you for sharing your story. I'm enlightened. I've known you for more than half my life, and I learned something new about you today.
Yeah, I wonder if you are questioning your whole career now that you know that I didn't know anything when you started working with me.
No, I just love, though, that you're like, I took a test and then I got certified. I took a test and I got certified. I'm like, oh, yeah, I've done none of that. So, hey, everybody.
Yeah, but you learned from the best.
I did. I learned from the best of the best. My story also begins in Milwaukee. I have a degree in journalism, was not using it, working in insurance, hating my life, miserable. Decide to go to a networking event.
What was that networking event called?
Femme-fessionals.
Femme-fessionals.
Do you think that that name would even be acceptable in 2024? I don't know. Femme-fessionals.
I think it's still a thing.
Is it?
I don't know if it's still in Milwaukee. Femme-fessionals. Okay, they had good intentions. It's a professional business organization for women.
Yes. Femme-fessionals was a networking group for females in business.
In business.
And no offense, but most of the businesses were like Mary Kay consultants.
So Jen and I are allowed to make fun of this because we were both members of this group.
Founding.
Oh, yeah.
You were on the board.
I was on the board. You know why? Because I was trying to network this business that I was trying to grow. And so I saw online that they were looking for a secretary.
You were a secretary.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was like, oh, how hard could this be? Whatever. And I got into it. We had to do a fashion shoot for the website where we all had to wear certain things and then pose together. And I know you're listening to this and you think, well, yeah, that's called just a group photo. No, this was like model posing. It was a little bizarre.
You also had to go on a retreat. I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
In Milwaukee. And when we went to the meetings, the board had to wear pink scarves around our necks
Yes,
to identify ourselves as being board members.
I forgot about that. Wait. Okay, going back to the retreat, did you guys have to do trust falls?
No, it was bizarre. We split up into two groups. And they had hired a molester van for one group of people to ride around in.
Everybody get in.
Yeah, and a limo for the other group to go around in.
Wait. So let me guess, in the limo was all the board members with your pink scarves?
That was like all the cool board members got to go in that one. Somehow they all got grouped together. But we all had submitted our favorite places in Milwaukee. And so we were going around town and showing everybody our favorite places in Milwaukee. And we completely ran out of time. So we got to like 3 of them. I don't know. It was a waste of my day.
I would have taken y'all to the McDonald's on North Ave. This is my favorite place in Milwaukee. Okay, so I am at this Femfessionals meeting, and this is a reunion for the two of us. So we had known each other through high school, through college.
Yes.
You'd moved away. Our friendship kind of, one of those like, oh, different paths of lives. We're not really in touch anymore.
Right.
And so this is our reunion.
Yes. But we didn't know that we were both in it.
So do you want to learn something today?
Oh gosh, you were stalking me. You knew I was on this board.
So I almost didn't go because I knew you were there and I was so nervous. I was like intimidated. I was like, does she want to be my friend anymore again?
Oh.
So I almost didn't go. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I had no idea. I remember when you walked in and I had my pink scarf on and I thought, she's going to think I'm a fool.
No, so I went with my best friend Amanda and then we reconnected. Like, thank God I went. It's totally changed the course of my life. So we are hanging out and you say, also, this is how I've gotten every single job of my entire life. You say, oh, I need some help on the weekends for this successful business that's been booming for 2+ years. To which I say, oh, I could do that because that's just how I've always gotten every job. And people believe me. They're like, yeah, sure. Sounds great. You're hired. So I start assisting you on weddings and I love it. The energy, the vibe, taking care of people. I'm like, this is way better than working in insurance where people hate me. I call people to wish them a happy birthday and they hang up on me. So I'm hooked and you probably see that and you're like, perfect. I'm pregnant, and I'm like, great. What does that mean? And then that means you're going to do some of these weddings for me. And I'm like, great. I have no idea what I'm doing.
I'm like, great. Neither do I.
Yeah, perfect. We're like a dream team. So that's how I started working for you. I took over some weddings. It was a dream of mine to move to Chicago. Mm-hmm. So I decided to move to Chicago. You graciously offered to expand Dare to Dream Weddings into the Chicago market. Again, I have no idea what I'm doing, thank God, because if I had realized how competitive the Chicago market was and what I was truly trying to do, I never would have done it. Being naive sometimes works in your favor.
Definitely.
I build up Dare to Dream Chicago pretty quickly, doing like 20 weddings a year.
Yeah.
It was wild.
You had a lot.
A lot. Well, come to find, I was sorely undercharging. The markets at the time, so this is 2012, the markets at the time are vastly different. So what you're charging in Milwaukee for the exact same wedding is at least double the price in Chicago.
I don't think that you were in Chicago in 2012.
I was. I've been here 12 years.
I'm going to check the tape on that.
Oh, 2013.
Okay.
So it'll be 12 years. You're right.
Got it.
Sorry. I'm like already ahead of myself. So 2013.
Yeah.
But vastly different markets. Now I would say the gap has closed quite a bit. Okay. I'm sure there's still some difference, but it's not what it used to be. We are unknowingly undercharging quite a bit. So booking clients for me was incredibly easy. After a couple of years, I will say, I don't think I left because you were like, oh, everyone starts a business because they think they could do it better. I didn't think I could do it better, but I knew I wanted to do it slightly differently.
Yeah.
So we part ways after my wedding in 2016. Mm-hmm. I start a fresh event. Mm-hmm. My path is very similar to yours, where I build up a team. I have a very successful brand. I'm doing it, if you will. Mm-hmm. But I am miserable once I get to that point. It's too much for me. I don't enjoy managing people. It's so much easier for me to just do what I love to do than to manage people doing what I'm doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's a lot of administrative work, and finding people to work for you is such a challenge because a lot of people really do not understand what they're getting themselves into.
No, they think it's all fun and creative. And
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, that's the tip of the iceberg, my friend.
right. I mean, even just assistant wise, people helping on the day of the wedding. We usually have seasonal employees who come in over the summer when we have a lot of weddings. And I remember one woman who worked with me for one wedding. And at the end of the day, she looked at me and she was like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. It's like, no, it's actual work. It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And which we'll do a whole episode on the day of
Yeah.
what is actually even just happening to our bodies. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
So last year I had started, or 2 years ago, I had started offering honeymoon planning services to some of my couples.
Mhm.
I didn't think that was going to necessarily turn into its own thing, but I love to travel. It was an easy add-on for me. Last year, I did what I call a controlled burn. I control burned a fresh event down to the ground. I let my team go. My main planner went off and started her own company, so that was great. Went back to being a one-woman show. And actually, as of November of this year, once I finish my wedding, I will only be doing 1 to 2 weddings a year moving forward. So it's an end of an era for me in wedding planning.
Mhm.
And a beginning of a new era of really diving into this travel planning, where I'm, of course, doing couple and family travel, but particularly interested in solo female travel. So that's where I'm at today.
So I think it's amazing that you and I have two very different lives and very different perspectives on things, and yet have had these careers that parallel each other in such similar ways. When we both started working on the travel industry stuff, we didn't know the other person was doing it.
No.
We were catching up on the phone maybe like once a month, once every other month. And I think one of us mentioned it, and it was so funny because it was like, what? I'm doing that too. It's
Me
such
too.
a natural. Yeah, me too. And we didn't even know. And it's just been so fun as we both have dove into this other part of our lives and hearing about your new company. It's been really fun and exciting.
Totally.
Obviously, we have a lot of stories to share about our wedding experience.
Right.
We said between the two of us, we have planned over 600 weddings, which
Yep.
there's a lot of content there because there's a lot of stories. But also to share a little behind the scenes of our lives now, traveling and planning these trips for other people too.
Right. And we've always wanted to do something together in this capacity. For years, we have been throwing around we should write a book. We should write a book. This feels more natural for us,
Yes.
the podcast approach, just because we're goofy and funny and we have faces for radio. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We don't. We're actually total babes. We are. We're total babes.
Well, you can follow us on Instagram and maybe see a few pictures of us.
I have some retro photos that I will share. So Megan and I have photos from about 1998 to 2004 and then nothing. But we're going to change that. We're going to start taking pictures together now.
Yeah. But we have a lot of funny photos from earlier that we'll post a few of our high school, college era.
Yeah, gosh. Yeah, that'll be good. But yeah, we're excited about this. We're ready to share some stories. We're ready to walk you through what is really going on when you're the wedding planner, when you're interacting with different vendors, what's happening on the day itself, all of that information, sharing stories that we've encountered. We won't name names, but we will share some really good stories.
We've got a lot.
We sure do. We could write a book. And then the travel element too, same thing. Like what goes into planning a trip. I plan very different trips than Megan does. Mine is global and very custom. So it's a process.
Right.
Like how I scout venues. I'd love to know how you scout venues too. So we'll be learning a lot actually about each other while we're doing this too, which is fun. If learning about our behind the scenes world, weddings and travel, and hearing some juicy stories along the way, you should tune in weekly.
I'm actually excited because I haven't heard all of your juicy stories from behind the scenes of these weddings, because we only worked together for a couple years. And we'll have some fun stories to share together, but I'm excited to hear your stories that I haven't heard yet.
Well, even today, we've learned some things about each other. It's like I don't even know who you are.
And we're just getting started.
Join us next week. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to get juicier and funnier and better. We promise.
We promise. See you next week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us again this week. If you have a wedding or travel-related story of your own that you would like us to share in a future episode, send us an email to theplannerspassport@gmail.com.
And be sure to follow us on Instagram at The Planner's Passport, and follow all of our travel and wedding businesses, including We Roam Solo, Dare to Dream Travel, and Dare to Dream Weddings. And please, if you enjoy our show, remember to rate, review, and subscribe from wherever you are listening to this podcast.